It started on a stormy Thursday morning in Washington, D.C. The Capitol was buzzing, not with the usual political squabbles, but with an unease that hadn't gripped its halls in years. Representative Jim Jordan, known for his fiery speeches and unwavering pursuit of truth, walked briskly through the underground corridors beneath the House chamber, a leather folder clutched tightly in his hand. Inside that folder was a dossier, a thick, damning compilation of declassified documents, anonymous testimonies, and digital records. And at the center of it all, Hillary Rodham Clinton. For decades, Clinton had been a powerful and polarizing figure in American politics. From her time as First Lady, to her tenure as Secretary of State, to her controversial 2016 presidential run, Hillary's name echoed through political history with equal parts admiration and suspicion. But Jim Jordan believed that the truth had long been buried, hidden behind layers of bureaucracy, protected by elite circles, and guarded by powerful institutions. But not anymore. Jordan had spent the last 18 months secretly assembling a team of former intelligence officials, whistleblowers, and independent journalists. Their mission: trace the real legacy of Hillary Clinton, beyond the press releases, behind the campaign speeches, and beneath the diplomatic smiles. And what they found shook Jordan to his core. As he stepped into the Oversight Committee chamber, the room fell silent. Cameras rolled. Members adjusted their ties and papers. Jordan sat down, placed the folder before him, and tapped his mic. "Mr. Chairman," he said, his voice calm but piercing, "what I'm about to present is not partisan. It's not personal. It's the truth. And the American people deserve to hear it." Gasps echoed as Jordan opened the folder and pulled out the first document, a 2010 State Department memo marked confidential. The room leaned in. "This is the beginning," Jordan said, "and it goes much deeper than Benghazi." What followed was a jaw-dropping presentation that touched on Clinton Foundation foreign donations that surged during her time as Secretary of State, the Uranium One deal, with fresh internal communications never before seen, a network of offshore accounts connected to shell companies in the Caribbean, and emails, thousands of them, traced from private servers to intelligence contractors operating in Eastern Europe. But the true bombshell came last. Jordan tapped the folder and slid a single image into the public record. A grainy still from a security camera in Tripoli dated 2011. The image showed a private meeting between Hillary Clinton, two unnamed oil magnates, and a Libyan militia commander later linked to rebel arms trafficking. "This meeting," Jordan said, pausing for effect, "took place just 3 weeks before the U.S. authorized covert arms transfers to Libyan forces, and just 5 months before the death of Ambassador Chris Stevens." The silence was deafening. "This is no longer about politics," Jordan continued. "This is about accountability. It's about who we trust to lead. And it's about what happens when power is left unchecked for too long." By the end of the hearing, social media had exploded. News outlets scrambled to validate the documents. Some called Jordan a hero. Others accused him of launching a witch hunt. But one thing was certain: Washington would never be the same again. In the days that followed, Clinton's team denied the claims outright. Her spokesperson called it an elaborate political stunt fueled by conspiracy theorists and failed politicians. Yet behind the scenes, panic gripped her inner circle. Jordan, meanwhile, wasn't finished. The documents he revealed were just the tip of the iceberg. And in part 2, he would take it to the courtroom of public opinion on live television. The Capitol fallout was immediate. Within 24 hours of Jim Jordan's bombshell committee presentation, major cable networks were ablaze. Fox News, Newsmax, and even CNN, though cautiously, aired segments discussing the evidence Jordan had released. Hashtags like #ClintonLegacy, #JordanFiles, and #LibyaGate trended on X, formerly Twitter, with millions of Americans demanding answers. But Jim Jordan didn't retreat to the shadows. No, he doubled down. That Friday night, Jordan appeared live on Tucker Carlson Tonight. The show's intro music barely faded before Tucker leaned in, staring through the camera like he was about to unveil the final pages of a conspiracy novel. "Congressman," he said, "you've just shaken the foundation of modern American politics. The The Clintons, arguably one of the most protected dynasties in Washington, are now under a spotlight they can't avoid. My question is simple: what happens next? Jordan didn't blink. What happens next, he said, is what should have happened years ago. Investigations, subpoenas, indictments if the evidence leads us there. He held up the same leather folder he'd brought to Congress. This isn't just about politics, Tucker. This is about influence peddling on a global scale. The American people were sold a version of reality crafted by PR firms and protected by deep state operatives. But this, he said, tapping the folder, this is the unfiltered truth. Tucker leaned in. And the Libyan photo? Jordan nodded. We've verified the image using metadata from the original surveillance footage. It was captured by a private security contractor hired to protect a UN official. That official had no idea Hillary Clinton was even in Tripoli at the time. She was there off the books. The U.S. Embassy didn't even log her arrival. The room went quiet. Then Jordan said it, the sentence that would explode across every front page in America. If this evidence is ignored, if we allow these kinds of actions to be swept under the rug, then we've already lost our republic. By Saturday morning, Hillary Clinton's camp was scrambling. Her longtime advisor, Cheryl Mills, released a statement calling Jordan's claims dangerous, unsubstantiated, and politically motivated. They dismissed the Tripoli image as a deepfake. They denied any knowledge of off-the-books meetings. But the damage was done. The House Judiciary Committee, under mounting public pressure, announced an emergency review of the new materials. Even some moderate Democrats, wary of the fallout, expressed tentative support for an independent investigation. In the background, anonymous sources from inside the State Department and the CIA began quietly contacting Jordan's office. One email read, "Congressman Jordan, some of us knew. We couldn't say anything before. But we're ready now. The truth needs to come out." While the political world reeled, something else was happening. Something Hillary Clinton hadn't expected. Americans were listening. Mothers in suburban neighborhoods. Veterans who had served overseas. Small business owners. Young college students tired of feeling gaslit by institutions that seemed to serve only themselves. They started organizing online, creating forums, podcasts, and live streams dedicated to digging deeper into what they were now calling the Clinton cover-up. Even pop culture took notice. That weekend, Saturday Night Live aired a skit with a Hillary look-alike nervously shredding papers in a bunker under Chappaqua. It got millions of views, but also stirred outrage among Clinton loyalists who said it was irresponsible to validate baseless attacks. But were they baseless? Because in a dimly lit newsroom in Virginia, a retired cybersecurity analyst named Marcus Devine had just decrypted a series of server logs. Logs connected to Hillary's private email server. Logs that showed something shocking. A foreign actor had been silently monitoring her communications. Asterisk, and worse, some of those emails involved real-time decisions about military assets. Jim Jordan got the call at 2:13 a.m. Sunday morning. "Congressman," Marcus said, voice trembling, "we need to meet. It's bigger than Libya. Much bigger." Jordan sat up straight in bed, fully alert now. "Where are you?" he asked. "Arlington, the Hilton off Glebe Road. Room 417. I haven't told anyone else. You're the only one I trust." Jordan didn't hesitate. He grabbed his coat and the leather folder, now worn at the edges from overuse. He knew the firestorm had just begun. But he also knew something else. The darkest parts of Hillary Clinton's legacy had yet to be revealed. The Arlington Hilton was quiet, its corridors dim and humming with the soft echo of vending machines and distant elevators. It was 3:04 a.m. when Jim Jordan arrived on the 4th floor, the leather folder tucked under his arm, his breath visible in the cold spring air outside. He knocked on room 417, 3 firm raps. The door cracked open, and standing inside was Marcus Devine, the ex-cyber analyst who once monitored foreign intercepts for the NSA. His eyes were bloodshot. A laptop buzzed on the desk behind him, displaying lines of code, IP pings, and what looked like a map of eastern Ukraine. "Come in," Marcus said, locking the door behind them. Jordan stepped in and took a seat. "I traced the logs back to the earliest unauthorized access attempts on Hillary Clinton's private server," Marcus began, pacing. "They weren't just from amateur hackers. They came from a state-sponsored Chinese group known as Red Lotus. But that's not even the worst part. He pulled up a decrypted email from April 7, 2012, classified, top secret, addressed to a private Clinton Foundation contact with metadata indicating it had been copied without her knowledge. The contents? Update on Libyan route. Arms transit confirmed through Benghazi corridor. Turkish liaison approved. POTUS not briefed. Jordan's heart sank. This confirms it, he said. She was running a covert arms channel without White House oversight. Marcus nodded grimly. There are 12 more emails like it. One even refers to an oil for assets trade in Syria, and another confirms payments made to a shipping firm under investigation in Malta. The two men sat in silence for a moment. Then Marcus spoke again. I didn't just come to you because I trust you. I came because I'm scared. I've already received 2 anonymous calls warning me to stop snooping. They knew my kid's name, Jim. My son. Jordan looked him in the eyes. We'll protect you. But you need to go public. Marcus shook his head. Not yet. But there's something else you need to see, something buried deep in the backup cache. A file labeled simply as HopeFade.7z. He opened it. Inside were 2 heavily redacted transcripts of private phone calls between Hillary Clinton and an unnamed diplomat. The first was dated September 10, 2012, one day before the Benghazi attack. Tell the asset to stay put. The ambassador thinks he's meeting a tribal leader. But it's already done. We'll clean up the mess after. Jordan froze. That wasn't diplomacy. That was orchestration. And the second transcript, dated 3 days after the attack, sealed it. Make sure the footage is lost. I don't care what the agent said, they weren't clear to speak. Move the witnesses. Tell state we're sticking to the video narrative. Jordan stood up, fists clenched. This isn't just about cover-ups. This is manipulation at the highest level. People died and she played politics. He paced the room, every nerve alive. If I take this public, if I put this in front of Congress again, or call a press conference, every major institution in D.C. will try to shut it down. Marcus agreed. You'll be called a liar, a traitor, a conspiracy nut. But the people out there? They're watching. They want the truth, Jim. They're desperate for it. Jordan looked at the clock. It was nearing 4 a.m. I'll call a full press briefing. Sunday night. Prime time. We'll lay it all out, emails, transcripts, photos. I'll dare them to refute it, Liv. Marcus nodded, slipping Jordan a USB drive. Everything you need is on there. God help us both. As Jordan stepped out of the hotel room, he knew there was no turning back. Because what he held in his hand wasn't just evidence. It was the match that could burn the entire Clinton machine to the ground. Sunday night. Washington, D.C. was unusually quiet for a city known for its chaos. But behind the scenes, every newsroom, every political war room, and every back channel of the intelligence community was on high alert. The reason? Jim Jordan was about to go live. At exactly 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Capitol Media Room was packed with reporters, independent journalists, whistleblowers, and millions of Americans tuning in online. News networks scrambled to cover the event, some reluctantly, others with bated breath. Even CNN, under pressure from viewers, carried the broadcast on a 5-minute delay. Jordan stepped up to the podium, flanked by digital screens and folders of evidence. He didn't smile. Good evening, America, he began. Tonight, I'm not here as a Republican. I'm not here as a politician. I'm here as a citizen who has seen enough. He tapped the leather folder, now scarred from constant use, and lifted a flash drive. This drive contains over 2,000 decrypted communications, intelligence memos, and internal government logs. They paint a disturbing picture, one of unapproved arms deals, politically motivated cover-ups, and the misuse of public office. The screens behind him came to life, emails, satellite images, surveillance stills, timestamps, voice transcripts. Let's start with Libya, he continued. We now know that Secretary Clinton made unauthorized visits to Tripoli. Not logged, not briefed to the president. Why? Because she was facilitating backdoor deals for arms shipments using private intermediaries and foreign liaisons. He displayed the now infamous Benghazi transcript, the one that referenced an orchestrated meeting and post-event cleanup. 4 Americans died in Benghazi. We were told it was a spontaneous riot caused by a video. But this. He raised the paper, this proves otherwise. This proves she knew it was coming. The crowd gasped. Flashbulbs flickered. Some journalists stood in stunned silence. Jordan pressed forward. These emails don't just implicate Hillary Clinton. They point to an international web of manipulation where government service was used to secure energy contracts, manipulate regional wars, and control the narrative fed to the American people. He paused. There are logs that show her private server was accessed by Chinese and Iranian actors while she was Secretary of State. Top secret materials were viewed by hostile nations. And what did she do? She wiped the servers and joked about it. The screens showed the infamous footage of Clinton saying, "What?" like with a cloth, in response to questions about deleting emails. "This is not funny. This is treasonous," Jordan said firmly. And then he did something that would haunt Washington forever. He played the actual audio clip, digitally cleaned and verified, of Clinton's call just days after Benghazi. "Tell state we're sticking to the video narrative. The families will be handled. I'll speak at the memorial." Muffled gasps filled the room. "The families will be handled?" one reporter whispered. The broadcast went viral in real time. Within minutes, hashtags like #HillAryExposed, #JordanTruthDrop, and #BenghaziFiles took over social media. Millions of Americans were watching. Some in disbelief, some in vindicated rage. But Jordan wasn't finished. He held up the final document, an internal memo from 2013 marked "Confidential, Clinton Foundation, Ukraine Pipeline Strategy." This document reveals a coordinated effort to secure Ukrainian energy contracts while U.S. policy was being shaped, contracts which directly benefited Clinton Foundation donors. He turned back to the cameras. "You were never meant to see any of this. They thought we'd forget. That no one would dig. That the truth could be buried beneath headlines and spin." He leaned in. But the truth has a way of clawing its way back to the surface. The room erupted. Some reporters left immediately to call their editors. Others stayed behind, frantically typing, live tweeting, uploading evidence. Outside the Capitol, hundreds of Americans had gathered with signs reading, "We remember Benghazi," and "Where there's smoke, there's Hillary." Across the nation, dinner conversations stopped. Living rooms fell silent. Because for the first time in a long time, someone had dared to say it all out loud. And the world was listening. The next morning, Washington, D.C. was unrecognizable. News vans crowded the Capitol. Protesters on both sides chanted into bullhorns. Social media was flooded with live reactions, breakdowns of Jordan's evidence, and shocked commentary from journalists who once laughed off the very theories now broadcast as truth. In every living room and diner, Americans asked the same question. Is this real? And then, just before noon, the dominoes began to fall. The House Oversight Committee, under bipartisan pressure, called an emergency session to evaluate the new evidence. DOJ insiders, many of whom had remained silent for years, started leaking supporting documents, including communications between the Clinton Foundation and foreign operatives. Even moderate Democrats were forced to acknowledge the gravity of the situation. But perhaps the most shocking development came not from Congress or the FBI, but from someone no one expected. Donna Keating, a former high-level Clinton Foundation finance officer, publicly resigned and delivered a statement in front of the Washington Press Club. "I was a loyal servant to the foundation," she said, tears welling in her eyes. "But I can no longer deny the truth. Arms deals, off-the-books donations, foreign influence, it was all real. I was there when decisions were made to silence whistleblowers and manipulate records." Her voice cracked. Jim Jordan isn't lying. He's telling the story we were too afraid to speak. By nightfall, the media was in a frenzy. Cable networks couldn't keep up. Fox News went into round-the-clock coverage. MSNBC, while skeptical, admitted the evidence demands investigation. CNN scrambled to fact-check in real time, but even their hosts appeared visibly rattled. And yet, amidst the chaos, Hillary Clinton remained silent. No tweets. No statements. No interviews. Until 11 p.m. That's when her team released a short, cryptic post on her official X, formerly Twitter, account. "I see the smear machine is working overtime again. Nothing new under the sun." It backfired instantly. The public, already enraged, saw it as mockery. The families of the Benghazi victims called for a formal congressional investigation. And Jordan? He wasn't done. The hearing room was packed. Jordan sat at the front alongside whistleblower Marcus Devine and cyberforensic analysts ready to testify. One by one, the evidence was laid out under oath. Not conspiracy. Not speculation. Emails. Payments. Diplomatic side deals. Audio recordings. Jordan's voice never shook. This isn't about left or right. This is about truth. About ensuring that no one, no matter how powerful, is above accountability. The final moment came when a State Department agent under protection testified that the Libyan mission staff had issued security warnings weeks before the Benghazi attack, but Clinton's office chose to ignore them in favor of optics and timing. They didn't want to look like they were losing control, she said. So they kept the ambassador there. And he died. The room was dead silent. And then it hit. An arrest warrant was drafted, not for Hillary Clinton yet, but for two of her closest former aides based on obstruction of justice and tampering with classified evidence. But everyone knew what that meant. The walls were closing in. 2 weeks later, America transformed. The president, under immense pressure, addressed the nation. We are a country of laws, not of kings or queens. No matter how powerful, every official must answer to the Constitution. It was the beginning of what pundits began calling the Clinton reckoning. Public trust in the media shifted drastically. Independent journalists saw a surge in support. Investigative watchdogs like Judicial Watch and Project Veritas re-emerged with vindication. Jim Jordan? He became a national symbol of courage, hailed even by political opponents for refusing to look away. And Hillary Clinton? Though still free, she retreated from public life. No more book deals. No more global forums. Her legacy, once touted as historic, was now etched in controversy and shadow.